Today, Red Sect dropped that is both its brand new Battle Royale experience and a mode called the Gauntlet. Today, we're going to be focusing on the Battle Royale experience exclusively because that's what I've played the most of. And in today, we've played 10 rounds and we have won 7 of them. We went into the idea with, hey, hopefully we'll win, and we ended up winning a lot. We actually won our first round. Today I'm here to bring you the best tips and tricks I can offer for you to get your first win on Red Sec. Red Sec is currently available only in duos and quads, which means it is a team-based game. And with any team-based game from Battlefield, you have classes. So picking your class is going to be the first thing that you're going to want to do, not only because it affects the way that you get your gadgets and what gadgets you have access to immediately, but also the weapons you pull out of your class-specific crates. And these are very important for the early game. The class-specific crates will be found littered throughout the map, and they will actually be a orangish gold tone, which will tell you immediately that that is your class crate. But if you didn't know already, you can also get up close to it and you'll see there's all 4 of the different class icons located on the crate. Depending on who opens the crate depends on what comes out of it. If you are a recon and you hit it, you will get recon kit. If you are a support and you hit it, you'll get support kit, and of course assault and engineer the same. But each of those classes also have signature weapons. If an assault hits it, you'll get an assault weapon and an assault upgrade kit. If a support hits it, you'll get an MG and an MG upgrade kit. If you have your engineer hit it, you'll get a SMG or a PDW and a PDW kit. And if you have the recon, you'll get a sniper rifle and a marksman kit upgrade. Inside of it, also, you'll find the gadgets used for your class. Usually it'll be something for recon like a sniper dummy, a motion sensor mine, or anything of the sort. You can also end up with C4. For engineer, you might end up with a rocket launcher or a Eagla or a Stinger, whatever style of launcher that they might have in it. For support, you can end up with a defib paddle or one of the deployable covers. And for assault, you can have some launchers, ladders, and other items as well. So with that information, the first tip for helping you win more games of Red Sec is just because it's your crate that you find doesn't mean you need to let yourself be the only one that opens it. You are working as a team, meaning if one of your teammates has subpar weaponry or something that they're not looking for, then it may be worth more to offer it to an ally. If you've already found yourself a blue or a purple AR on the ground as an assault and you're running across one of the crates, maybe your recon or your engineer needs the items as well. They can also come in a clutch at the last moment if you run across one and there happens to be a vehicle nearby, and give it to your engineer. These kits are not just ways to upgrade yourself, but they are extremely powerful tools in the way that you conquer the battlefield. So don't be greedy, don't grab every crate for yourself. Sometimes it's worth buffing a teammate. But if you are Mr. Greedy Grabby Hands and you do open every crate for yourself and give none for your allies, you can still help while still being greedy. One of the ways you can help is there will be these kits littered around in those boxes as well, and they are upgrade kits. Upgrade kits only work for the weapon style that you find, meaning if you are currently running a sniper and an SMG or a PDW, and you decide to find yourself one of the assault MG or any other style kits, you can actually give those to allies. Yes, it's important to also share, because your allies having a good gun will help you, hopefully, not get taken out in the mid round. So share the loot, it's important. So now that you got a grasp on classes, crates, and weapon upgrades, let's start talking about one of the fastest ways to get yourself your own custom weapon if you've been playing Battlefield 6 up to this point, which is missions. If you've been playing any Battle Royale that is current, you're probably familiar with the idea of missions inside of these Battle Royales. Well, Red Sec is no different. There is a variety of missions for you to choose, and these are delivered to your front door, or at least your HUD. You can actually open your missions if you're on keyboard and mouse by hitting M, but you can also do it through your options button on your controller, I do believe, and you can select missions based on proximity. So if you are in an area and you get a mission that you don't want to do, you can actually just move around or wait some time and find new missions. Generally though, you're going to find 3 missions at your disposal that you can actually choose from, each one giving you a different rarity of rewards, and some of them even offering custom rewards. I've found that it takes generally about 2 to 3 missions before you start getting offered custom rewards, as the rewards do begin to go up as you continue to complete more and more missions. You will see rewards anything from airstrikes and other call-ins to uncommon and superior weapons, and then of course custom weapons as well. But these things can also net you one of the most powerful weapons on the battlefield, which are vehicle cards. And the vehicles are nothing to laugh at. They will hurt you. And now, with a vehicle card in hand from your missions, let's talk about vehicles. Vehicles are extremely domineering inside of RedSec, and it's going to be one of those things that you need to understand completely so that way you can get the most out of them, or of course know how to take them down inside of the battlefield. What you're going to end up doing is taking that vehicle card to one of the vehicle crates you can find on your map and redeeming it. It does take a moment to open, so you'll need to protect yourself while doing so, and then you'll be a brand new owner of a shiny vehicle. These vehicles have limited ammo, meaning you need to also keep in mind that while utilizing this vehicle, you need to be at least familiar where your next closest ammo dump is, because a vehicle with no ammo is just a oversized battering ram, and everybody can find different gadgets on the ground to be able to take out these vehicles. You're no longer limited to only engineers to be able to take you out. With that being said, if you are running into a lot of vehicles and having a problem with them, engineers are extremely useful as a selected class, as they are generally going to also be carrying a rocket launcher with them, meaning they'll be able to take it out by default, while other ones will have to chase down those items to be able to actually take out the vehicles more reliably. But like I said, engineers aren't the only way to do it. There are also multiple things that you can do to prepare yourself for incoming vehicles, one of which is allowing your engineers to open engineer crates, giving you access to some of the launchers as well, so that way they're not the only ones able to take out vehicles. You also have recons that can get C4, which are going to be a little bit more high risk if you're trying to get up close, so you may want to consider an RPG unless you just happen to be lucky enough to get close as well. Or one of the other ways that you can do it is with in-game call-ins. These in-game call-ins can be found in all sorts of different crates all over the map, and they can actually help you in a pinch as well. Things like these can be used to either call in mortars or precision strikes with jets. You can use it to call in ammo drops, weapon drops. It can even call in what is going to be the most useful for removing vehicles, which is anti-vehicle drops. These drops can be picked up and stored in your pocket and used whenever necessary. So it's very important to consider what your potential targets may be based on where you're at in the circle and what you see moving around the battlefield and what you may want to store. There are moments where your entire team may need artillery, but there's moments where you may want to consider bringing in strikes, UAVs, or anti-weapon drops. With vehicles out of the way, I think it's important time we start talking about what happens after your team gets absolutely smashed by a vehicle. Up until about the second circle, you get a free revive. Yes, that's correct. You can actually come back into the game early on if you happen to meet an unfortunate end at the hands of what may be it inside of RedSec. Inside of RedSec, the respawn mechanic will save you one time. This is for both duos and for quads, and then after that, well, you're on the waiting timer, but you're not out completely. Inside of RedSec, there are also respawn towers. These respawn towers need to be gone up to and activated by an ally and then defended, so that way they can bring you and anybody else from the squad removed back into the gameplay. When they do, you will come parachuting back in with a weapon that is akin to your class by some sorts or another. Frequently, I run marksman rifles, and luckily enough for me, recon gets those on respawn. You also can find ARs, LMGs, and PDWs on their respective classes as well when they come back in, so you have a little bit of something to fight with. But keep in mind, those same beacons can only be utilized once, meaning unless you can find one that's uncontested, you may be making a trek trying to get your teammates back. But it's obviously important. This is, again, a team game, so having your full team alive means more solutions for incoming problems. On the other side of that, though, that means other people can be bringing teammates back as well, so you do need to keep your eyes in the sky, especially if you hear the sound of the siren from a respawn beacon going off. Also, one of the things to remember is that a team that gets taken out near you, if you don't get rid of all of them, if you don't see that familiar squad wipe icon, make sure you know where the closest respawn beacon is, because most likely they're booking it there. So you've collected classes, weapons, you understand the crates and the respawns. Now comes down to positioning and understanding the battlefield around you. RedSec features an extremely versatile and very varied map so that you can actually have multiple styles of combat. But understanding what your class is good at and what area you're about to be pushed into by the circle can help you determine what weapons you may need to be taking into battle. With the Season 1 update, a lot of the bloom and bloom bugs were cut back on in the game, so weapons feel a lot more responsive and your gunfights should feel a little bit more intuitive. But bloom still does exist. Understanding that heavier hitting weapons are going to bloom more and lighter hitting weapons are going to bloom less will give you a good stance on where you are based on which weapon you you grab, under the first few bullets, you should know where your range pretty much is. Snipers are still one of the strongest things inside of any battle royale, but for what I can tell, snipers are not guaranteed one-shot headshots at all ranges. These snipers are extremely lethal though. Do not undervalue them. A lot of times I would say a sniper is one of the strongest weapons that you can have inside of any battle royale, and I will say that that most likely still stands true. With that being said though, PDWs and carbines are extremely lethal inside of close quarters, and every circle eventually enough has to come to an end. So if you're trying to secure one of the first wins for you inside of Red Sect, having either a PDW or a carbine will be extremely helpful for removing those last people that might be the separation between you winning and losing your round. Carbines that I find exceptional inside of Red Sect right now are the QBZ, the SG553, and the M4A1. Most likely, if you've played any of Battlefield 6, you have one of those leveled. I recommend it highly. And it's probably one of the ones I would definitely recommend pulling from your loadout drop. If you like to be a little bit more jack of all trades, consider running an AR. It works wonderful in downtown areas and in open fields, especially if you start getting really good at your tap firing, and is very useful for almost any rotation. Something like the L85 is an exceptional choice as it is a very versatile gun. It's got good damage, good range, and it's very, very reliable. Or if you are not an L85 fan or you haven't unlocked that one, something like the SOAR 556 does very well for being a good damage over range weapon, and it is one of the more reliable weapons as far as recoil is concerned. Now, whether you chose support or you were delegated the role because you needed somebody that was going to be good at reviving your teammates, you have the option of LMGs. And you as a class and as the support, you actually have one of the proficiencies that allows you to run around with LMGs without being slowed down. So utilizing them as a support class is actually a very, very useful tactic because you get a little bit more than everybody else on it. I'm going to say right now your best options for the support class when you start using an LMG that if you're still used to running primarily ARs, the DRS IAR is probably one of the best, most usable inside of the game. If you've managed to unlock all the weapons though inside of Battlefield 6 before Red Sect, consider also the KTS 100. Extremely accurate, very low bloom. It's one of the guns that you can kind of just hold the trigger and beam people across the map. Very nice. It's very useful. And if you're also an RPK fan, the RPK is very good as well. It's got very good damage numbers, very similar to the DRS, as you'll be able to use it mostly like an AR, and you should be able to get a lot of very good fights with some intense, insane damage on those enemies very fast. These are mostly going to take your spot of the AR, and running it with something like an SMG or a carbine is going to be very useful for being able to hold either large fields or just good choke points. Support is a master of being able to have these fights. You are the only one that has the ammo box as well, meaning you can continue to resupply yourself and your allies. So as far as rotations are concerned with this, you're pretty much the king of all of them. The LMGs have good damage over range, mid-range, close range, and be able to combo it with whatever you want. You might even be able to run a shotgun with these guns. So consider this one extremely versatile and probably one of the strongest inside of Red Sect. And with that, the final thing to cover over rotations is understanding the circle. It continues to collapse in like I mentioned earlier, but it'll also show you the direction it's going and towards the center as well as the circle continues to travel. So understanding where the circle's moving and trying to read into that as much as possible is going to be extremely useful for you getting your first win. Make sure to take advantageous areas like high hills with the fire behind you that you see it's not rotating away from, so that way that you know people can't just run up behind you. But do keep in mind, the fire does make a bit of noise. It makes it a little bit easier for people to sneak up behind you, so make sure your recon is dropping something like a tugs or the motion sensor piece that you have, and that will be one of the ways to make sure you don't get flanked. With that being said, the tugs is avoidable by either crouching or laying down and crawling past it, so you're not guaranteed to be safe, but it will at least reduce the potential for someone to sprint up on top of you. Taking high points in the game is generally very good for a battle royale, but this is Battlefield. Destruction exists, and almost every building can be toppled. So if you're going to be using the high ground inside a Battlefield, remember the floor does fall, and the higher you are, the harder you fall. Parachuting leaves you extremely vulnerable, so most of the time, unless you know that you're going to be safe on top of these buildings, please exercise caution. It may be worth more to be on a solid hill than a fragile building. And finally, the one thing that I think can help every player that's ever played a battle royale, and I still find that people are terrible at it is pinging and communication. Battlefield is the king of ping. It's one of those things that whenever you are in a fight inside of Battlefield, if you're able to ping your enemy before you get into it, or if you're using recon, which automatically pings anybody they aim at, it is extremely useful, even being non-communicative. Even if you are not communicating with your teammates verbally, the pings can save them so much. And understanding where to look and find your pings will go a long way to helping your team win, even without a mic. Any character can ping, any class can ping, and most of all, any of the pings can save your teammates. Pinging an enemy, whether it's to fight them or to avoid them, marking a tank or marking a weapon, pinging any of the upgrades so the player can upgrade their weapon like I was talking about earlier, pings go so far. If you're playing with randoms, any little bit of information can be the difference between a win and a loss in a battle royale. Do not go into this selfishly. Even if you're playing duos, you have one other partner, and it's going to be very important for your success that they succeed as well. Ping the enemies, ping the weapons, ping the vehicles, and ping me when you win your first round of Red Sect. But if you're new to Battlefield and you're grabbing this for free to start into the Battlefield Battle Royale and you have nothing done, meaning you haven't even set up your controller yet, don't worry, I have you the starter kit right here.